Welcome to this CNM, Centre National de la Musique webinar. Thank you very much for joining today. The title of this webinar is Bienvenido a México, exploring trends and synergies in live music, independent promotion, and collaboration within a rapidly expanding market. So this webinar will be recorded and available on the CNM website for 1 year from today to access and to watch back. Please feel free to ask any questions that you might have in the chat, and we will do our very best to either answer them kind of as soon as possible during the next hour or so, or at the end. My name is Ben Ling. I work for the CNM as an international project manager, and I'd like also to introduce my colleague Benjamin de Meulemester, who's here with us behind the scenes, helping with all of the logistical things on Zoom today and many other things as well. Just for context, for this webinar, in July of 2020, during the pandemic, the CNM organized a series of webinars on the Latin American music markets. That was like 5 years ago now, and a rather miserable time, obviously, for everybody when that was happening. So we thought it was definitely time for a refresher on this subject, and also with a specific special focus on this top 10 music market, Mexico. So over the last couple of years, the CNM has been working on some songwriting sessions in Mexico City, bringing together French and Mexican songwriters and publishers with a view to growing opportunities for collaborations and artistic development between the two markets. And these have resulted in some really exciting releases for up and coming artists and further collaboration between Mexican and French songwriters. And to accompany this webinar today, our colleagues at the CNM in our research and forecasting department, notably Céline Luguet and Arthur Coudon, have very kindly published this afternoon on the CNM website an updated version of our guide on how to navigate the Mexican market with a special focus on promo and marketing. So it's a big thank you to them as well for this great work. I don't know, Benjamin, if you might be able to share that link into the chat. That could be really great. Thank you. And now on to the actual content of this webinar. And before I introduce today's panelists, I wanted to give you a very quick overview of the current Mexican market and what we might be covering today. So first of all, we start with the rapid growth of the live music sector in Mexico. So in terms of the market size and growth, Mexico's live entertainment market was reported at around $5 billion in 2024 and is projected to grow towards, by about 2033, around $9 billion, so a growth of $4 billion in terms of music concerts and festivals, and these are really the dominant sectors of the market. In terms of festivals and ticketing, there are many large day, multi-day festivals, including Viva Latino, Corona Capital, Hypnosis, Flow Fest, many other big brand festivals that are regularly selling many thousands of tickets a day, which have very kind of expanded VIP experience tiers and corporate sponsorships, which is also an important part of the Mexican model. Festivals are named as the fastest growing event type in many market reports. In terms of a wider industry context, IFPI and regional reports are showing that Mexico is the fastest growing recorded publishing market in LATAM in recent years, supporting also more live activity as recorded revenues and streaming audiences are growing. Then we have like the increased international interest and touring opportunities. International tours are increasing, including Mexican dates as primary parts of a tour rather than just like an afterthought of for tours. Mexico City, Monterrey, and Guadalajara seem to be the key cities to target. On the flip side, Mexican artists are also increasingly touring outside of Mexico. Breakout Mexican regional artists are touring the US and doing festival slots like Coachella, international festivals, and multi-market tours. And this is showing that the Mexican acts are converting their own local market and their domestic momentum into international touring. Then we have the importance of collaboration, cross-genre and cross-border work. So collaboration is a major growth accelerant at the moment in Mexico. On a very high level, you have Mexican artists who are collaborating with top Latin and global stars, with Peso Pluma and Karol G, Bizarrap, Grupo Frontera with Bad Bunny. You have all these huge names. And these collaborations are giving Mexican genres direct and immediate access to global playlists on DSPs, radio, festival bookings, and so on, which is having an effect on the industry with collaborations converting into streams, into being placed on Billboard Hot 100, lots of joint live TV appearances, remixes, and all sorts of things. Of course, these are very high level examples, but we can also mention the strategic importance of building the bridges on collaborative songwriting or featuring between, in this case, French and Mexican songwriters and artists. Finally, influence and reach to external markets. So streaming dominance is huge in Mexico, with regional music surging in streaming in recent years. Spotify Wrapped this year, which I'm sure all of you have checked out your Spotify Wrapped for this year, has been flagging Mexican music as the top streamed Latin genre in many markets. And now Mexican artists are really appearing regularly on global streaming charts. In terms of genre crossovers, Mexican artists and acts and producers are blending all sorts of genres. So corridos, cumbia, urban production, making tracks that are more playlist friendly for global artists and global audiences, sorry. And this means that there's increasing export possibilities. I mean, anecdotally, in Germany, where I live, been hearing lots more Mexican artists on the radio, which is really cool when we're driving around Berlin. That's enough for me as a little introduction, and I would now ask the panelists to introduce themselves, please, starting with Valentina, please. Thank you.
Hello, how are you? Well, I'm the A&R of Universal Music Publishing Mexico. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Ben, for the invitation. Also, Benjamin. I think that you guys are doing a great job here. And well, I had a very short presentation that I would like to share to you, just to show some um, little facts that I think that you should take into account in the Mexican market. Well, first of all, hold on. First of all, regional Mexican music is right on the top of the charts. No, Fuerza Regida. This is the principal singer of Fuerza Regida. Is the most streamed male project in Spotify Mexico. So you should know it if you want to know, the Mexican market, because it's right up on the charts. Then let's see if okay. That there is interesting rising of Mexican reggaeton. These are one of the most important exponents of the genre. Jeudi is the #1 TikTok artist in the world, and that helps a lot, in the exposure of her music worldwide. Also, El Bogueto reached #1 in Spotify Mexico with Cuando No Era with John Beef, which is one of our songwriters in Spain. And Cachirulan Lujan is another project that is is rising a lot also. And they will perform in Coachella 2026. Mexican reggaeton is very different if you compare with other reggaetons in the Latin scene, because it has its own sound, and also the lyrics are very explicit. So, and it has like a lot of slang, Mexican slang. So it's very different if you compare with other reggaetons in the Latin music scene. Mexico City is the capital of the streaming. This is not, I'm not saying this. This is right for Spotify. Mexico City is the city that most consume, Spotify, in the world. So it has to be, in your root if you want to be global, no? Another fact is Mexico is the second market for concerts. As an example, Shakira offered 12 concerts in Foro GNP, which has a capacity of 60,000 people. So it's huge. I mean, if you get huge here, I mean, you're gonna be global also, no? Um, but at the same time, there is a huge market, for huge music, but also in Mexico, we are very open and we love new music. We are very interesting and curious to know new music, no? And I was, doing like a little research, and a recent survey revealed that 56 of Mexicans are very open to listen to music. So that helps to independent market also, no? Uh, but also, hold on. Okay, I want to show you talking about this. I think that it is good also to show maybe one of the songwriters that should know from our roster. Here in Mexico City, in UMPG, we have a little writing room where we can plan sessions. We were doing some sessions after the camp we made with Ben and Benjamin. We also had a completely with session with Mahmoud, which is from our roster in UMPG France. He did a great job as a producer, and he was working with pop artists from our roster, no, and songwriters from our roster. So here, I want to show Brati, no. Every time when I have to plan international camps, I have to put Brati, on the list because people from we were doing for her last album, which will be released on March, I think, next year. We were doing sessions in LA, in Miami, in London, and also we were doing sessions in Spain. And she worked also with Mahmoud because Mahmoud was working on the pop side, So for that reason, I think that Brati, because I know that also pop is rising, is increasing in the French scene. I don't know if I'm
Absolutely.
right, but that's what I heard. No, so for that reason, I think Brati is one of the projects that you should know as a songwriters if you want to work with someone in Mexico. Then from our roster also Flaca, she does trap and hyperpop. She's rising. It's so impressive, and she is already she is already viral in markets, like very different markets for us, like Singapore, Bolivia. I was in Italy on October, and I was having a meeting with two women songwriters, and they told me, yes, we know her because she's viral on TikTok. So I think that Flaca is one of the projects that is actually doing global, so we have to take her into account. I'm putting here, their usernames on Instagram if you want to follow them. Okay, Francelia Abreu, she does urban and indie pop. So I think that she is one of the songwriters of our roster that is doing a sound that could be global in the future. So here is also her username on Instagram if you want to follow her. Renee. Renee just won she just won the Latin Grammy Award as with La Torre, which is a rock song, pop rock song. So I think that if you are in the roots of pop rock music, she is one of the artists that you should work here in Mexico City. And Carla Morrison is maybe one of the most important Latin pop stars in the region. And she lives part of the year in LA and part of the year in Paris. So, and she speaks French. She also study in Paris music. So I think that she knows. She can write in Spanish, French and also English. So I think that she is maybe the most of our roster. She's the most related artist, songwriter with the French market. But of course, she is Carla Morrison. She is very big. So, I mean, but I think that, sometimes we are interested, in plan sessions in France when she is there. And it would be nice, to maybe start building a list of the possibility of collaboration with her. So, well, this is like the small presentation I had, but I think that it is important, to show a little bit of our roster and those highlights, I mentioned, besides the ones that Ben already mentioned. Thank you,
Wow.
Ben.
Valentina, that's amazing. Thank you. It's really, really detailed and very, very interesting. That's all looks like an open invitation for people who are listening to find out more about Valentina's roster and potential songwriting partners. So thank you so much. That's really, really precious.
Yes.
Paco, could you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do? Thank you.
Of course. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for the space and the opportunity. I don't know how I'm going to follow up the beautiful presentation of Valentina, but here we are. Again, hi, everybody. I'm Paco Barba. I am a live talent promoter, an artistic director based in Mexico City. I'm the deputy general director of Grupo Indie Rocks, where I oversee projects like Pitchfork Music Festival, which also has a version in France. Um, I oversee Festival Hypnosis, which is a 15,000 capacity festival, which we've had previously French artists like my work focuses on helping international artists enter and grow in the Mexican market, and we do it through cultural grounded strategies and strong local promoters. Um, the partnerships that we do are probably the main driver that we like to build. And we also have several venues, and we're entering into a new phase of cultural promotion, which entitles not only being a live promoter, but also create a space for a partnership and a co-investment with artists in the form of a label and management.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Paco. That's great. Moving on to Elena, please.
Hello, everybody. So I'm Elena. I'm French, actually. So I think I'm the only French in this room. I'm working for Savoir-Faire, which is a management company and also a publishing company. And we also created a label called Animal 63 with Believe here in France. But we did like a lot of stuff like in Mexico, or for the artists we're managing or for the label, because I ran international for the label. And it was really interesting to like talk all of us and see how we can do like as French with our artists at different level, help our artists to grow in Mexico and help them become bigger. And I have like a few examples that I would be like super happy to talk about. We're managing the Blaze, Gesafferschen, for example, who are like really strong in Mexico, and like some other new artists who are just starting to plant seeds over there.
Oh, that's fantastic, Elena. Thank you so much for joining us. That's great. Oyin, finally, please introduce yourself.
Ready. Hello, everyone. I'm Olin. I'm the founder and CEO of Canal MX. It's a hub focused on entertainment marketing. Our expertise is focused on 360 marketing and assisted virality, also offline and online amplification. We've been working since I think like 5 years, and we are so focused on urban pop and regional music. We have already worked with artists like Carol G, Grupo Frontera, Karim León, Fuerza Régida, Banda MS, festivals like Flowfest, Arre, Corona Capital, and other ones. yeah, we're so focused on all the tools around marketing, as influencer marketing, offline marketing, um, data analysis, production about experiences, PR stunts, all the things that could make build a community and amplify some kind of message. So yeah.
It's very nice. Thank you. That's a great presentation. That's cool. Thank you. Just to everybody who's watching, I think at the beginning our chat function wasn't working. So just so you know, now the chat function is working. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in. Thank you very much. So my first question goes to Elena. So I think it's very interesting to have you here from the French perspective. So with regards to what you've experienced, I would love you to explain a little bit about what you've done in the Mexican market, why Mexico is a strategic market for your artists, and what's worked, and perhaps also what, I don't know, sometimes it's interesting to know what didn't work as well. That's always an interesting one. Yeah, I'll let you take the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe I'm gonna start with a little bit of a story. So Savoir is like a 15 years old company, and we used to run like 10 years ago electronic music label called Bromance, and it was at that time with Ed Munger, was also big over there, and so there were like a lot of French artists who were invited to play and to do some shows like DJ set in the Mexican territory. That's why everything started for us, like all the story. So we had like many shows of our artists. So we met like some people there, and we started to build like a relation. So we had a starting point, which was really important. And we realized by traveling there and starting with the live that as Valentina said, like the Mexican people, they're really keen to listen to new music, really keen to discover everything, and I think they have like this very special link with the French artists. I don't know why, but this is how it is. And like we started working more and more with locals in Mexico, because for us it was really important to have a real connection. And this is why it started. So when we released The Blaze at the first time, so it was almost 8 years ago now, we saw that they were doing like electronic music, kind of a little bit emo, and we're like, okay, we need to try it. So we started with the live over there, and then we built like a relation with the GSPs and with local people. What we did is like, and we really started from scratch because there were like no band at the beginning. And so we start working with a PR agency who was covering all the Latin American, so mostly Mexico, but also some other territories. And we starting from there and just like talking to the fan, talking to the right media, and really working with local people. And I say that because I think it's very important. And also, as you say, Ben, at the beginning, not working only in Ciudad of Mexico, but also doing stuff in Monterrey, in Guadalajara, because there are like cities where you can find like super vinyl shop and where people are super happy to go and do meet and greets with the artist. And I think this link with the fan is like really a key in when working in Mexico. So this is where we started. So obviously it's a long way. And I mean, when I'm talking of the Blaze, it's like it's been like yeah, almost 10 years of work, and now Mexico is the top one territories. It's 25% of their audience globally, and in terms of revenue, you can see that it's going bigger and bigger, and now we're really trying to do like all dedicated thing with for the Mexican audience. So like doing exclusive merch edition for them, like with things written in Spanish. Do all the digital asset in Spanish too, because we know that they're gonna be like it's something that they like. We do like pop-ups for the fans to meet the artists. We can do like retrospective of the music videos of everything. They're really keen to do that and to really go closer to the artist. This is what we're doing right now, and it's really surprising because even if it's some stuff that we already release, just doing that with the artist there, it's always like a big event, and really the fans are super super nice. So it's always a pleasure for the artist. And so they're touring, even if there is no album out, they're just like touring. And you can see it obviously on the live show. They're starting very slow, and now I think the revenue in terms of live, it's like 6 times what it was, like almost like 8 times what it was at the beginning. So it could be like very huge.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that's a very interesting point about the fans and the kind of fan ecosystems. Oyin, maybe that would be an interesting kind of thing to put to you. We've seen that Mexican music fans are really some of the best in the world, some of the most kind of dedicated fan groups. And why do you think this is? Where does it come from? And what kind of channels do the fans use? And I don't know, like what kind of campaigns do you work on, and how do you build your campaigns?
Well, I think it's about we consider some certain facts when in all of our work and in terms of building a community and to spread a message. In terms of Mexico, we need to be so realistic about 4 or 5 points, that it's about geographic position, cultural behavior, the democratization of the information that comes with the internet, and the ephemeral moments of any message on the internet, you know? So that's really important to consider before you want to build a community or you want to spread a message. So about the question of why it's this this emotion of the fan to consume, and as Valentina said, we are really open to new perspectives, to new projects. So I think this is part of a cultural behavior that comes from the history of about we are the glue between US and Latin America, you know. So that's really important to know this and to focus on that, you know. So that's a cultural behavior that we can go deep in, but we will not end about it. But that's important. So I will like make some facts about each bullet. So that's about cultural behavior, that's about history, you know, and it comes with the geographical position. About the geographical position, it's about that we're in the middle, so we know different codes, you know, about how to talk and how to spread a message with the Anglo market and how to spread the Anglo message at the Latin market, you know. So that's really important for us, and also to know that it's really important to consider this and to consider the information at the internet, you know, and to know that there is a lot of tools. It's the internet and the marketing, it's you have a toolbox, you know, so you need to use every tool for a specific work or for a specific job. It's like you have a toolbox, and you cannot like name I don't know how to say it. It's like I have you can like nail I don't know how to say clavo
A nail?
a nail, yeah. You can
Hammer
hammer
a
a
nail?
nail with a screwdriver, you know. So that 4 facts it's are really important, and something really real here, it's that you need to be constant here. I think the importance here is to be constant and to know what's your ecosystem, you know. You need to start looking for what's your ecosystem, who do you want to be with, who in terms of artists, places, hotspot, eat girls, eat boys, all the full ecosystem for you to starting there, start working the specific targets. For me, it's really important the way to build this, because we are building right now from the bottom to the top in terms of targets, specific targets. 20 years ago, it was the way around, you start from the top to the bottom, because there was just certain channels of communication as radio, TV, and all that stuff. And after that, you start like working for the bottom from these massive things, from the specific targets. Right now, it's the other way. You start from the bottom with specific targets, working from the top to the massive thing. So I don't know if I answer your question, but that's I think the perspective this side.
Yeah, definitely. It does answer the question. Thank you. I mean, that's very good. Thank you. It makes me want to ask more, but I think we need to keep moving a little bit. But thank you. That's very cool. Paco, in terms of the live music sector, I think it's already we've heard from Elena and from Valentina and from Olin, like it's kind of coming into your area now. How do you see that things have changed in recent times in Mexico in terms of the growth of the live sector?
Well, Mexico definitely is one of the largest and growing live markets in the world. And this is due to the cultural context and also the opportunities that I've been presenting from regional music. Now everything is within the same patterns of consumption, strategy and logistics, but at the same time, is you have really big names and really small names all sharing the same ecosystem. Past years, I think regional music and traditional music and indie were so far apart, and nowadays they share common drivers, and that's what is really moving the live sector in a different way. So that's one of the main patterns. Mexico, in terms of like ticketing pricing and consumption patterns, we've always been a late buyer in terms of like tickets, and ticketing consumption has been changing so much. Um, but that thing where you have major artists on being their own label, really big names being their own label, and you have this really small artists being their own label, so to speak, uh, kind of like creates this mid-tier and cultural niche artists, even when they're massive, because the patterns are pretty much the same. So everybody, the community, the fandom base is super important. So it continues being audience first, everything else second. You can tour and you can have a label, you can have marketing if you're not thinking about uh, your community. And it's not like we're creating communities. The communities are already built and set. But part of the stuff that we do, especially as live promoters, is bringing those community together and make sure that we are 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 targeting and talking to the specific communities, so the artists are able to reach out their communities, their fandom base, and therefore being discovered for those who might not know them just yet. But that's precisely where nowadays, with the fast, rapid consumption of media, you have everything in your hands. And what Olin was saying is the micro and micro situation when it comes to consumption and data and media is so rapid that we're able to create artists. Ideals in such a fast pace. But at the same time, you can't have the same patterns when it comes to touring. You cannot have you can't really tour if no one really knows you. So that hasn't changed. What has changed is that the immediate ways that we can create different strategies, so we can found a base for the artist to introduce them to the territory and therefore tour.
That's very interesting, Paco. Thank you. I think one of the things that we see with French artists quite often is that because, as Valentino was saying earlier, Mexico has such huge streaming numbers, which just completely blow a lot of other markets out of the water. A lot of artists and their management teams might see that Mexico City or other cities in Mexico as well might feature in their top five, monthly listeners. In terms of the most streams that they have. Does that translate? Can that translate to booking a live show in Mexico City, or is it something that we might need to be a bit more careful with?
Excellent question, Ben. because this being pretty much the bread and butter of the last 5 years. Try to figure out what's what in terms of numbers. I mean, we have to think about, first of all, giving a little bit of context, we have to think about two things uh, regarding Spotify numbers in Mexico, especially Mexico City, when it comes to a city. We're, 18 million people living in Mexico City, and the surrounding area, adds up all the way to maybe 25, 30 million. Culturally wise, so that's a huge number. So the playlist and the consumption itself of that number is pretty big. If you put that in one side, on the other side, you think about the cultural context of Mexico and what radio still means, but what it actually was. A huge percentage of people using Spotify, they're using the freemium version. So cultural wise, we're replacing radio with Spotify. So you're leaving Spotify being played the entire year while you're working. What a taxi driver is going around, or a mom and pop shop is just playing some music in the background. So you got playing. So you have those two factors. A lot of people living in Mexico City, and we're culturally wise, we're utilizing Spotify as replacing what radio was, right? So that's gonna drive the numbers way up. So now, in terms of what that data means, I've actually been working really closely with data and the way we read data. And Spotify is one of the indicators, but it's not the only indicator, especially now. Now could be really an indicator that can be really very faulty when it comes to reading data and the way you want to perceive the numbers. So what we were reading, like booking agents and promoters, we were reading Spotify as more of a linear data to see how many tickets an artist will be able to sell. Now it must be part of just one of the indicators, the main indicator. So building the criteria to be able to identify a forecast of how many tickets you're going to be able to sell is key for promoters like us, but also is really key for booking agents and managers. Now we're sharing this data. We've been lucky to been able to understand this from the years ago. So we've been building criteria that we use that we've shared with booking agents, and we've been able to change their perspective with a solid criteria and data that really shows the forecast and the possibility of many tickets that an artist could actually sell. Not to mention that one of the drivers being the indicators could be, and the driver per se could be Spotify. There's a really interesting context that we will discuss later on, so I don't want to jump onto a different section, but what it means to do, the time and the cultural strategy that the artist is implementing in the territory. So that is a different driver that we're not really seeing. We were reading data very linear, but it's not really that. It's more, I think, has some ups and downs, and really, it's more of a dissecting different criterias and changing those criterias from time to time.
Thank you, Paco. I see that Olin, you have your hand up. Please go ahead.
Yes, just adding for what Paco said, it's all of that so real, and for me it was also a question about that, like working with artists and working with festivals, and I was talking with one of my friends that it's a social anthropologist, and he told me like, okay, it's because it's kind of consumption behaviors. New generations embrace momentums, not idols. So that's, for me, it was like, okay, damn, the people right now don't follow. It's a little bit more harder for the new generations to follow an idol as a full career. They consume and they embrace one song, they embrace one moment, and after that the internet brings you new things, new artists, new songs. So that's really interesting. So that's the only thing that for me was really impressive, that new generations embrace moments, not idols. So that's for me really interesting. I just want to add that.
No, I love that. Thank you. That's very cool. Elena, from your perspective, because this is like it's all tied together really with the Spotify numbers and what Oyin's just been saying as well about momentum and so on. Um, from a perspective, from a French perspective and from an artist development perspective, when would you start looking to reach out to potential Mexican partners for an artist that you're working with? You know, might be an artist who've only maybe just been developing over for a year or 2 years. When for you do you feel like is the right time to start approaching potential partners in Mexico?
I think that the main thing, I mean, the first thing we're gonna look at is like the scene, and I think the music genre is like very key because it would be like very difficult for a French artist singing in French. I think it would be more difficult for a French artist singing in French, doing kind of variété and go in Mexico saying, okay, they love French artists, I'm gonna do that and it's gonna work. So you have to get the music with like vibey and like more international, if we can say that. But for sure, electronic music, hyper pop, indie pop, all this kind of stuff. English speaking works well. Um, but still, you have to get like you can do that with a brand new artist. I mean, we're working like on some new acts, and I think that at some point we're gonna bring them in Mexico. But it's like we need to wait to make sure that they are stronger enough in their territory and they have like a strong image and like they're able as an artist to really bring people and to really get fans into their universe. Because really, for me, even as Paco and Eileen say, like a new generation and the momentum, I think that they're really like an personification of the artist and they're really like into it and into the universe. So if your universe is not like that strong, if you don't have like something to say, if you're not like really into that and ready to go for it, it's not gonna work. But I mean, it's kind of the same on every territory, but really Mexico fan communities are really key. Whatever you do, I mean, it could be like through streaming, and I guess like streaming, it's like something, but as Paco said, it's more like now like streaming in Mexico, it's more radio. That's why the numbers are like pretty strong because it's not really easy to do like collaboration with the streaming platform in Mexico. Things that we can do in France and doing like partnership or stuff like that. When you're in an international act and you want to do stuff in Mexico, really it's not easy and it's really difficult to have them on board. You can do like some stuff, but not that big that you can expect with like big artists. So I think that streaming is a part, but you need to get like the right media, and there is a lot of media also to talk to because each media is linked to a community. You know, of like a lot of young folks doing stuff on IG or TikTok, and it's really like the new media, and they're really like going to festival and talking about the show they're going to see and blah blah blah, and they have like many followers. You have to talk to these people to make sure they understand what you do, and they will be like your best ambassador. So obviously live will be key. You have to be in the territory. And even like collaboration with local artists. I think this is something that come like really later on when you're ready to do something very special that could bring like advantage for one and another, like French artists doing thing with the Mexican artist, like bringing, notoriety for each other.
Thank you, Elena.
With
Paco, I
that,
see you
Paco.
have your hand
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, just really quickly to add up to what Elena was saying, it's she says something very interesting and puts into perspective what a French company, when it comes to Mexico, is try to breaking into the territory with an artist. Uh, Here's where the gaps between the entire ecosystem of the industry has. We have so many holes, but at the same time, that creates different opportunities, right? The thing is like it's exactly what Elena was saying. Is like uh, between the artist and the audience, there's got to be a component where we bring those two together. Correct? That used to be, and it still be, and it still are the labels. What happens now is DSPs in the entire world have replaced the ground market for the artists. So if you don't have that support, it's really difficult for you to have a base campaign, an intro-based campaign into the territory, because you don't have the support of a label to actually do the groundwork of promoting an artist. That's why it's so important to have that artist community relationship and building different bridges now between promoters and artists, booking agents and labels are is really important, because the ecosystem we're following, the industry ecosystem, which is has different layers, right? Has the at least in the live sector, it's connected through a booking agent. But if the booking agent doesn't really have the support of the label and the label is not really promoting the artist, there will be no booking agent. So in Mexico, working with French artists, we really have to start building bridges in a different way, where DSPs are really important, labels are really, really important, but we have to create a different ecosystem where a live promoter is more of a co-investor in developing an artist than a real life promoter. That's where it's gonna turn into the next 5 years. If we're not co-investing really in developing artists from the get-go, we're not going to be able to participate with, because it's so volatile. When we are able to, when we want to work with an artist, the artist is going to be so massive, but for the artist to be massive in a way, it's going to be really hard for them together, as it used to be 5 years ago. So what Elena was saying about the DSPs is a key component that is actually happening in Mexico, where there's not really a strong support for new and upcoming artists the way it should be, because that's the only resource that we know in this sort of like digital global market.
Thanks, Paco. Yeah, it's interesting what you're saying, because obviously, over the last few years, in terms of the role of a label, and whether it's like a more of a traditional role of a label from 10 or 15 years ago, or a model that we have now, which is more of a potentially more of a label services kind of situation, where you're really picking and choosing your partners, and depending on where you see the investment going and co-investment. I think there are so many different options on the table. I think it would be interesting, and maybe at another point, to talk about label services and different companies. I think maybe as a CNM we could we're always available to all of the members of CNM to talk about different actors in that area. But I think all of you bring your own expertise and have very different insights into how to help to develop artists from the ground up internationally. We had a very interesting question from Robin as well on the chat, which was he was saying, firstly, thanks to the Fantastic Four. Thank you, Robin. Thanks for being here. Out of experience, so would you consider Spotify to be the main vector for breaking out artists in the Mexican market, or how would you still rank social media such as TikTok and Instagram, or more mainstream medias such as radio next to Spotify? I don't know, perhaps Valentina, like from your experience seeing your artists, the artists that you've been working with, obviously you were talking about Flaka earlier, who's been hitting some incredible numbers on Spotify. I think she's around 3 million monthly listeners at the moment, and she's been going viral on Spotify as well. But also, obviously, TikTok is a huge platform for her. Valentina, how do you see that kind of interaction between the different kind of online platforms?
Yes, I think that TikTok is getting more important. You have to do content every day to put, content on your TikTok, and I think that Flaca has been, I mean, of course, it has to be good. I mean, no, it is not only putting content, every day and that's it. No, the sun is gonna be very important, to the result. But I think that, as you said, Flaca has been a really good example of it, because she is increasing, impressively, and she is doing a lot of content for TikTok, and I have seen that maybe what is very, very important is that you have to understand your community in terms of what are you putting, on TikTok. It's not only putting content and the sun. You also have to understand what your community needs. So it is important to be very organic, because I think that Mexican people is so I mean they can smell when something is not real, you know, and I love that about the Mexican audience. If something is not real and it is like fake, it's not gonna be, you know, it's not gonna be there. I mean, it's not gonna make a result. So you, first of all, I think that we just said, you know, that is very important to understand your community. And of course, at the beginning, maybe if you're an independent musician that is starting from the really bottom, maybe, I mean, you don't know this, but you have to work every day to understand your community and to put content like that fits, you know, to that community. So of course it is a very important point. Also, I have to say that, well, as I told you, Jerry Moa is the number one TikTok artist in the world. And but it was surprise for me that when I went to her concert in the Pepsi Center this year, no, even when she has like huge numbers, the concert was not that full. You know, it was good. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't that. So it is not only about TikTok. It's not only about, you know, like putting content every day, but it is very important. What I think that it is very important is to understand your community, because we have examples like Blanco, which was
Yeah.
he was in the camp. Blanco maybe doesn't have those huge numbers, but he has a real, I mean, super fans. He has super fans. And Paco can say it because Blanco was in Indie Rocks and he made a sold out. He just made another sold out in Foro Puebla, which has like 500 people. I think the capacity is
A, thou-
500.
a thousand.
Ah,
A
1,000.
thousand.
Oh, I didn't know. Well, so he made a sold out like 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. And if you look at the numbers, at his numbers, he's not that huge. And I also put another example, which is Sabino. Sabino made a photo GNP, you know, with 60,000 people of capacity, and he's not even on the charts. He has built a really important community to do that. I was so surprised when I saw that, and all the time, you know, I give those examples. Sabino in a like big in a big way, but also Blanco. He's so successful, being so real and understanding his community and make a lot of experience. And also I have to do an I have to give you another example. um, the past week, Dua Lipa was here, and I mean, she opened a taco restaurant.
No way.
No, and I was like, wow, this is another label. You know, maybe it's not about just marketing, but for me, it is part of it. No, and I was like, wow, this is another label of experience. So, Elena already talked about it. You know, you have to and also Olin. I mean, you have to understand your community, you have to build experiences, you have to know your niche, and to do content also, no, at the same time for the different platforms.
That's great. Opening a taco restaurant,
Taco
pop-up shop.
restaurant, I
That's
mean, that's
so
another
good.
label. I was like, what? And she was visiting, well, maybe because she's like that. No, she was in visiting museums. Even when she opened her own taqueria, you know, she was I mean, she visited another little taqueria. No, so you have to be real. I mean, if you're fake, Mexican audiences are gonna be like,
They're going to feel it straight away.
yeah.
Yeah, for real. I like that Benjamin just put in the chat. There is no funding program from the CNM to open a taco restaurant. but it's still very inspiring. I think that's a good one. I don't know. Maybe there is. Maybe there's a separate program for that. You never know. Should find out. Valentina, I had a follow-up question for you. So what would you recommend to French publishers, okay, who have songwriters who are really, really keen to exchange with Mexican songwriters and artists, and maybe the French are like super interested in the Mexican scene and they're listening and they're excited about what's going on at the moment. What would you recommend for these French publishers and their songwriters to kind of make a first kind of step
Yes,
towards
in
the
my
Mexican market?
experience, because once in a year we have to go to a global A&R conference, and what I have learned about it is that every country and every territory has the different way to approach to the session, to the writing session, and to do a splits, no?
It's true.
And I mean, you have to be respectful about it. And here in Mexico City, when you go to a writing session, here people is very, I think that they want to divide, the splits in the number of writers that are in the room. No, and sometimes with other markets, I mean, in Japan, no, 50% of the session has to be for Japanese writers. Even if you
Yeah.
have just one, and the rest, of the writers in the room are like from other countries, they have to have, the 50% of the writing session in Japan. No,
Yeah.
so that's the way, I mean, they do it. And I mean, you have to understand that. And if you go to do sessions there, you have to understand that. No, but if you come to Mexico, people is very they want, if there are four people in the room, you each of one each of them will have 25%
Equal
of
split.
the
Yeah.
equal splits.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it is not the same in other markets, but if you come here, you have to understand that, and it is not really, I mean, it is not like well received if you are like, well, I put more, to the sound, so I think that I deserve 50% of. That is not the way here. No, and you have to understand that if you come to Mexico to do sessions, you have to be pretty equal in the way you make splits. So, and also another advice maybe I can give is that um, look at the playlist, the Spotify playlist. Spotify is the most important platform here in Mexico. Of course, we have another ones, but the most important one is Spotify. So it's so easy to go to Spotify and to start, uh, understanding, and funding playlist, of what is being like streamed in Mexico, because the most of the time, and I think that it applies for A&Rs, it applies for songwriters, it applies for everyone that wants to know a new market. I mean, you have to do your job and you have to do the task
Yeah.
to do your research,
You got
you
to do
know.
the digging. You got to do the digging. I think like from what we've seen, a lot of the time, obviously, like the publishing A&Rs are super active in terms of finding out who's working and who the best people to team up with and so on. But some of the best results we've seen have actually been from the songwriters themselves getting really involved. And you can find all this information on the credit section on Tidal, on Spotify. You can see who's working. You can see who the songwriters are. I think if you get
Yes,
in there
and
early,
maybe
check people out on Instagram, get involved and organizing your own sessions, yeah, it can be the best way
yes,
forward.
and if you have more information and you get into the Mexican music market scene, then you're gonna start choosing what you are working with. What I mean, what is maybe the vibe that you are looking for, but you have to do your research, and you have also. It is always good to build a community here. Not community, of course, a community of fun that we already talked about it, but also your artistic community. And there are some like ecosystems here in Mexico that really helps you to get into into that community. You know, of course, you already know Rizoma. Rizoma is maybe one of those ecosystems here, but also there are another studios that you can, with different vibes, different people with different interests, and with different type of music they love. So there is always a place for you in Mexico City, but you have to leave, the experience to come here to know people, and to be very open your
Yeah.
ears for new music. But because, I mean, in the case of Brati, no, Brati, she make a really nice song with Barry B from Spain, but she really wants to get into the Asian market, no,
Mm.
and for that reason, she made a version of that song in Japanese. She's so open, so in if you want to be successful here, I think that you have to be very open to new music, because of course the type of music that we here is going to be very different of what you will find in France, because we are different people with different culture, with different backgrounds. But as well as, if you are as open you are, as best you will do here in Mexico, I think.
Thank you, Valentina. I think that's really, really, really good advice. And I think from what we've seen in recent times is also that if you show a certain level of enthusiasm and desire to work with people in the Mexican market, there seems people are very open and reply and or match your level of enthusiasm, basically, which is really, really good to see. There's a lot less gatekeeping, I feel, in this market, which is quite a positive thing to see. We had a question from Daoud on the chat, who's asking about the importance of PR in the early phases of development. Maybe this is one that Olin you could handle. So it's about the importance of PR marketing in early phases of development in the territory. So Daoud's got a tour coming up, his first tour, which is really exciting, and they're thinking it might be a good idea to do some marketing, some PR on the project. Is it a good time? What should he do? Olin, what do you think?
Hi, Dowd. How's everything's going? Well, I think I would like to for answer this specific question. I want to give a little bit more context in terms of the way of and also match a little bit with what Valentina is saying, the way we think a community, an ecosystem, an environment, and territory work could start or initiates in DIY way and expand it. So I think it's really important to get into this phase of getting a PR or making some strategies, digital strategies, paid media, or whatever the tool you're going to use. For us, it's really important to follow some steps. If you are foreign and you want to start working the territory. So for us, it's really important, these 5 steps. The first one is a research. Research, you are like, I don't know, if you are from US, you are from Colombia, you are from Paris, you are from Ghana, you are from everywhere you are in the world. The first is make a research about what's the territory, what's the language, what are the ecosystem and environments you want to belong there in this territory. Just a research, internet, that's it. After that, after you make a research, you could look for specific people in terms of, okay, this is a producer, I like this producer. Okay, this is one artist, I like that artist. This is one fashion designer, I want this, I like this fashion designer. This is a restaurant, this is a hotspot. Okay, I would like to know what is it. So after this, you build this mental ecosystem of a new territory. You can start open bridges. So if you like the producer, okay, text it. If you like an artist, text it. If you like some venue, text it. So, and after you start open these bridges, you can start like interact. So the interaction, not well, in face to face, it's really important, and it's kind of not a final step, but it's steps forward. So after you start opening these bridges, you can start the exchange. So you start, you are communicating right now, and if after you make a research, you open the communication bridges, you can start like, okay, man, I get this, what do you get? Okay. And after you start opening these bridges, you can start creating an environment. So if you are, after, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, you are talking and you are like making exchanges with 5 people, you are really getting a step into the territory. Not, you're not physically here, or we're not physically there if we want to work another territory, but that's, it's really important for you to teach and to learn, for start working in a specific territory and to work in a specific target of our community. So after you make this exchange and you start creating this environment, you also will learn some specific codes. So it's not the same way a regional music artist should work, should lead, should talk, whatever, as the way urban music musician or artist should work his sound target. So after you make this is the kind of I don't know, the third step, like exchanging and open bridges. I think it's the fourth. And creating this environment. Well, okay, looking forward and going to this 4 to 5 step that you now are asking to us. You are coming. I think that you are on the fifth step, you know, because I think that you already come, you already like know people, you have already exchanged, you know the hot spots here. So right now, it's the time. Not and but at this time, at this 5 or 5th or 6th step, it's really important to be so clever and to look forward for a route. Okay, a route in terms of, okay, you are going to hire a PR, but you should work all the environment around. So the PR is going to make his own work. He's going to put it on some magazines and some Instagram posts, but this should be added to a full strategy in terms of, okay, keep talking with the producer you like, with the artist you like. So you make some post in a hotspot in Mexico. Go, I'm saying things. Go and take some tacos and post tacos on your Instagram. And you should round it all the tools that are going to make the full message be so solid and consistent. So it's really important. Yeah, for sure. You are, I think, for me, as the answering to the question, you are right now on this step. Yes, you should hire a PR, but also add to all the full strategy. You keep talking with the people. I don't know if you had some featuring, release that featuring in this timeline. Will that the PR will be making his work. So all the ecosystem, put on the work all the ecosystem, you know. So not just wait for just the PR, or just want to be working on it, you know. So yeah, and also I think after you start pushing that buttons, be consistent. I think that's the next step. After you start pushing these buttons in terms of digital strategies, PR, influencers, paid media, whatever. Be consistent and be so clever, or your investments in terms of money, time, and relations. Be consistent and make a timeline. Okay, the PR will be at this time, the featuring will be at this time, I don't know, my Instagram post or my social media content will be at this time. For all, the message will be so consistent. Well, asking to your question, yeah, I think for me it will be time for you to pay for a PR or to work with a PR, but keep working on the full ecosystem and the full message, full environment you want to work here in the territory.
That's a really very cool answer. Thank you very much, Jolene. It's we've got a couple of hands up, so let's go to Eleanor first. Thank you.
Yes, I just want to add it like a few things, and but I will be like very quick. I think that the most important, but as Olin say, is just to get the right environment. But I guess like if you're already doing a tour in Mexico, means that you have like some interest there, and you could like hire a PR agency, but I don't know where you are in Mexico. But you can also start with the promoter you're going to work with, because I guess you're going to work with promoters and they are doing the job also to promote the shows and to talk to the media, and that could be the first step. And tell them like that you're ready to do stuff, to share music, to do, I don't know, whatever, live session or whatever, just saying that you're ready to do some PR session there while you're there. And if it's not happening, just like take advantage of being in the territory to meet the right people, go to the radio station, try to reach out to the press people. And because as we said, like the people in Mexico are really keen to meet like sorry, international artists. So you can take advantage of being on the territory to do that, and work with the promoter would be I think that would be like the perfect first step. And then when you will be ready to release new music, do featurings, whatever you're going to do there, that would be easy to hire a PR and find the right people to do it, because you will have like some talking point already. So it's kind of not the same answer, but it's like different perspective.
That's great. Thank you, Paco.
I'll be right in between Elena and Olin. I agree with both. It really depends where you are. As a live promoter, I will always appreciate someone really co-investing on their own strategy. But here's where Elena has a really good point. But before going to there, just to really wrap up what Olin was saying, I do also agree that a PR campaign could be beneficial, but cannot be beneficial without a really localized digital marketing strategy as well, and that is focused on community engagement. That being said, there are two different things. Whether you're coming to play for free as a showcase, or you're coming to play as a hard ticket, those are two different worlds. One of them is basically, and the main driver is awareness, which could be a showcase for people to come to see your show, which is a showcase with free entrance. That entails also some a different type of of a driver. But if you're actually selling tickets, your strategy has to be placed in conversion. And awareness and conversion as a live promoter are two different worlds. I'll give you a quick real example. We also produce the 15th anniversary show in Mexico City of this label in New York called Mexican Summer. They have Evandra Banhart, a bunch of other artists, and they did Paris, Los Angeles, New York, Mexico City. We were the production partners. We were talking about who was gonna be actually promoting the show, right? So they hire a PR and marketing company that specializes on awareness. That means that when a record is released, when you have a new album coming up, when you have a new clothing line coming up, all that kind of awareness It's basically a strategy based on awareness, and people let know that there's going to be some engagement taking place, right? But when you're promoting a show where it's a hard ticket show, and again, I'm not quite sure if yours is soft ticket or hard ticket, but if it is a hard ticket, then the strategy is completely different. So working with, and this is where it connects the both Olin and Elena. When you work with the local promoter, whoever you're promoting the show with, understand what the actual align expectations to what you're actually expecting. Co-invest on the show. But if you're actually selling tickets, and going back to the example, we had to step in to help the PR and marketing company to do the promotion of the show because they were not selling tickets. So they're two different things. So we actually chime in to do the strategy based on conversion. And then we started ticket, and that has to do with localized digital ads and a whole strategy. But to wrap up and be right between what Olin was saying and Elena is basically that talk to your local promoter and actually work with the local promoter, even if you're hiring a separate company, and align expectations. What are we expecting of this campaign? To have engagement in terms of awareness, or to sell tickets, or both. So that is really important. But I do agree that investing in a campaign is not a bad idea if you focus your campaign on your objectives.
Thank you, Paco. Handing over to Valentina.
Yes, I just wanted to add, this is for the UMPG writers. If you want to come to Mexico and you want to do a showcase, we have a really nice auditorium to do that, and it doesn't, any of our writers had to pay for it. You just have to book it with time and just write to me to do that. But for even for us, Ben, if you for the next year, we want to have a showcase of French UMPG writers. We can do that showcase, downstairs here in our building, because I just have to book it, but it doesn't have any cost.
Sounds great.
No, for the first, for the first time, if you are coming in, and taking the advantage that we can do that showcase, not for only one project, but for 4 projects, 5 projects, so that idea for next year.
I love that. I'll store that one away. Thank you, Valentina. So I'm very aware that we've got like 10 minutes left, more or less. Feel free to drop in any more questions if anybody has them. I've already got 2 more questions. The first one is that in 26, so next year already, like just in a few weeks' time, Mexico is going to be really taking center stage as one of the 3 hosts of the FIFA World Cup, the soccer football World Cup. I also heard a rumor from somebody that Mexico might be hosting the Latin Grammys next year, or maybe the year after. I don't know if that's the case or not.
Yes,
But
yes, I think that Puebla is gonna be
okay, excellent,
the place, for
exciting.
Yes,
Yeah,
I think that
that's
it
super
has to be
exciting.
confirmed, but I heard that, so
It's a TBC.
a
All right,
possibility.
but in any case, I think we can see that there's more and more focus on Mexico from all angles at the moment. How are you all as because obviously in France last year in 24 there was the Olympics, which was a huge boost for the French music scene in a way, because there were lots and lots of French artists at the opening ceremony, at the closing ceremony, and it was obviously the Olympics and the FIFA World Cup's not exactly the same thing. But how are you approaching the Football World Cup next year, and are you seeing opportunities, whether it's from a live perspective or from a marketing brand partnership perspective, or just because maybe there'll be some artists coming over and you might want to get them on sessions? This is for anybody to answer. Perhaps Paco to start with. I don't know.
Thank you. I should also mention that next year we're celebrating 200 years of relationship between France and Mexico. So it's going to be a big year for French artists to be visiting Mexico. We're already working on that through embassy and of course you guys. So we're going to be talking a lot more about what possibilities we have for that matter. So for all those French artists, managers, and promoters out there, definitely think about what we can be doing within or outside the territory. So there's going to be a big one. So that also becomes the challenge and the opportunity to host the World Cup, right? There's definitely a lot of movement around it with the music. We're a music-driven country. So from all the way from live music all the way to marketing strategies and collaborations are happening. In terms of the actual industry sector, when it comes to touring, June is going to be complex to do touring. Something that is not really within the spectrum of the World Cup, just because there's going to be a lot of attention in and a lot of financial resources going towards the World Cup, and that means ticket sales, that means merchandising sales, that means record sales. Everything is going to be very focused, at least for that period of time. So a lot of the stuff that we're looking into is combining strategies with different companies, sponsorships and non-sponsorship companies to do collaboration during the festival, especially with artists. We're creating these as such a gateway and an opportunity to do stuff around it. To give you guys an example, we're bringing this band. One of the tours that we're going to be doing is this band Shame from the UK.
Great band.
So we're going to be working. We're going to be doing a tour in 3 cities: Mexico, Querétaro, and Guadalajara. And that's something that is really important when it comes to routings. And this is a different. I know this is a different topic, so we'll leave it on the side. But we're introducing the band has nothing to do with FIFA's brand, but has to do a lot of with the cultural concept that we're living in that moment. So yes, of course, we're gonna everything from merchandising to actually doing an activation. Not necessarily with brands, but the brands are into it. We're gonna be doing it like we're gonna have the artists playing soccer against like small matches with their fan base, right?
Amazing.
So yes, it's just creating an opportunity for the controlled context that we're living in, and it's just I think it has to do a lot with what's gonna be happening. It's gonna be cluttered with a lot of the stuff of FIFA, so just giving the momentum for the cultural context and understanding the not only the drivers but the challenges that brings to. I think it's going to be an interesting time for everybody who's going to be touring in Mexico.
For sure. For sure. Does anybody else have anything to add on that subject? Other, oh, yep.
Me, yeah, just adding to this, for me, it's like really interesting, important. It's a high peak of the country, so it will be insane. I think in my way, in my expertise, we're preparing all for the relations with brands in terms, because there will be a lot of people, a lot of brands want to making things here, and to also look for not a roster, because we don't sign as a roster, but to look for a really interesting proposals or really interesting profiles of artists that could be brand friendly, and to have a specific communities that could lead into conversion, so for us, that's the perspective. We are looking and for build a list of artists, and also to build a communication with brands to make these connections, because there will be a lot of people, money, attention, a lot of everything. So in our perspectives is this. For us, it will be connect this both sides between brands and artists for it to look forward to this, I think.
Thank you. It's very clear. I think as we're coming to the end, I think I just had one more question for you all, really, which was specifically from a French point of view. If you're a French professional or artist and you're looking to come to Mexico, maybe at some point in 2026, for meetings, for prospection, and you wanted to maximize your time there, to meet as many people as possible, make as many connections as possible as well. Are there any particular music industry events that you might recommend? Like obviously in America, in the US, sorry, you have like South by Southwest, or in Germany, you have Reeperbahn. We're quite aware of Impro in Guadalajara, and also the new event in Music Mex as well in Mexico City, which had its first edition this year. Are they moments or events that you would recommend, or are there others? Let you take that one, Valentina, if you like, or Paco.
Yes. Well, I will recommend one festival that is on February for Carnival. Its name is Vaidora, maybe because they're more open to different languages, in the roster, So Vaidora could be one because there are some of the maybe indie artists that start doing a show in Vaidora and then they can increase, but Vaidora could be one of them. And also Tropico, which was last weekend.
That's right, yeah, just recently, yeah. With the
Yes.
Blaze we're playing, I think Eleanor's artist, yeah.
Yes, so I think that maybe those, because they have like their own roots and also their own sounds. I think they're like they look for new artists, I think.
Got it. Thank you. I see there's one more question on the chat as well. It says hi. It's from Eleanor, and not Eleanor, who's on the panel, of course. This is Eleanor Mizadri, and she's asking, what are the music genres that the Mexican audience are asking for the most nowadays? So, what genres are Mexican audience asking for besides domestic music, of course? She says that she's doing the international development. She's doing international development for French, but also Nigerian artists who do Afrobeats. And she's wondering which genre has the most potential to be exported to Mexico at the moment. Yeah, open to you all. And this is Eleanor from Sony France, as I believe. Yeah, Valentina, please go for it, or Paco, either.
Yes, well, maybe one of the biggest artists in the Afrobeat Latin scene is BL. No, BL is from Colombia, and even when he is very famous already in the region, he hasn't been that strong in Mexico. So I don't know the perspective of Olin and Paco and and Elena also, but
Yeah.
I think that I don't know if Afrobeat is that, I don't know, is that
Yeah.
genre here. So
Yeah, if I might chime in, and this comes from someone who's actually promoted African music, especially Afrobeat and high life, working with. I used to be tour manager of Tony Allen in the US. So some of the strong things that I've seen is Mexico is actually isolated within Afrobeat and high life and kind of like African music when it comes to like performing arts scene. But if you go to Colombia or Brazil, Brazil is very, very strong in terms of African music and modern African music in terms of Afrobeat, especially Afrobeat. We promoted a bunch of shows there with the cultural center in Brazil. I lived in Brazil for 5 years, and I promoted a bunch of shows down there. And I can tell you this is a good way to start. And as a platform, I think whether you do the US, which has a different type of a spectrum and logistics and structure, the US, which has a very strong performing arts scene. And there's a lot of room for Afrobeat and new projects of Afrobeat, all the way to Colombia and Brazil would also have, and they have a different funding because that sector sometimes falls within cultural context or cultural sector in terms of music. And Brazil has a pretty strong financial aid for culture. So I will probably try to bring in um, uh, people from, like this is a really good way for like projects like CNM and IFAL and the embassies of Brazil and well, the embassies of France and the France in Brazil and Mexico can actually try to create a cultural exchange between Cervantino and Cultural Center in Sao Paulo, for example. But that'll be something that as a soft ticket could work really, really well. As a hard ticket, it's a little complex. And I promote the last show, the last show that we did of Evo Taylor. That's not for beat, that's High Life. It was, we sold 1,000 tickets, but it's Evo Taylor, where like in the US is selling 3,000 tickets, and Brazil's again is selling 3,000 tickets. So that kind of like answers also part of the question, and sort of like solidifies what Valentina was saying. It's not that strong. Music-wise, it's strong, but in terms of the industry is not that strong. So I would suggest to go to the 2 points and try to make a way down here based on that strategy.
Valentina, I'll let you wrap up with this one. Thank you.
Yes, I would add that Colombia and the Caribbean, because the Caribbean it has a really strong history with Africa, Cuba, Colombia, Venezuela, and all the region of the Caribbean is they really like African roots, and they have their own way to play, their African roots also. No, and also, of course, as Paco said, Brazil is very important because they really has a huge market for African roots, so and for Afrobeat. So that is something that I want to add.
Thank you, Valentina. So, looking at the clock, I think we've just gone over by 2 minutes, but I think there was an awful lot to say. I'm sure we could carry on for another hour quite easily, but everybody has things to do. A huge thank you to Val, to Oyin, to Paco, to Elena, to Benjamin as well, behind the scenes. As we mentioned, this will be available on the website of the CNM for around 1 year to come. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me and Benjamin at the CNM if you have any questions in the future. Also to Fabienne and to Laura at the IFAL in Mexico City, who are doing some fantastic work there as well. Fabienne dropped a message into the chat. I don't know if anybody else has anything else to add, but thank you very much for your time, and have a wonderful rest of the year.